What if I told you that everything you've ever believed about morality could be turned upside down? That power doesn't follow virtue, but instead molds it. This is not just politics. It's the raw machinery of control. And at the center of it all is a single, chilling idea: the ends justify the means. Let's dive in. 1. Origins of the idea. The phrase, "the ends justify the means," is commonly attributed to Niccolò Machiavelli, a 16th century Italian diplomat and political philosopher. While the exact phrase doesn't appear verbatim in his works, it encapsulates the spirit of his most famous treatise, The Prince, 1513. Machiavelli lived during a time of extreme political instability in Italy. Warring city-states, foreign invasions, corrupt rulers, and constant betrayal shaped his worldview. It was in this unforgiving environment that Machiavelli formulated his principles of power. Rather than dwell on idealism, he focused on what he called la verità affidabile, the effectual truth. That is, not how things should be, but how they actually are. 2. What does the phrase really mean? The ends justify the means suggests that any action, no matter how immoral, unethical, or violent, can be acceptable if it leads to a successful outcome. The focus shifts entirely from what is done to what is achieved. If lying brings peace, lie. If violence brings order, strike. If betrayal ensures stability, betray. To Machiavelli, the ultimate good of a ruler is the survival and strength of the state. And if that requires cruelty, manipulation, or fear, so be it. 3. The moral controversy. This idea clashes head-on with centuries of ethical and religious teachings. Philosophers like Aristotle and Kant taught that actions must follow moral principles. Regardless of outcome, the right path is right because of its nature, not its result. Machiavelli rejected this. He believed that rulers, unlike private citizens, have a different set of obligations, not to morality, but to effectiveness. Critics called this a license for tyranny. Supporters called it realism. But either way, it opens a dangerous door. How far is too far? If the outcome is great enough? 4. Examples in history. History is full of leaders who embodied this principle. For better or worse, Napoleon Bonaparte centralized France, but at the cost of massive wars. Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus during the Civil War to preserve the Union. Winston Churchill authorized the bombing of civilian areas to weaken Nazi morale. Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, committing treason, to claim control of Rome. In each case, moral boundaries were crossed, but in hindsight, many view the outcomes as justified. The state was preserved, the war was won, the people survived. 5. Application to modern life. Today, the idea is more relevant than ever. In business, companies lay off thousands to save a bottom line. In medicine, doctors use placebos or withhold information for the patient's benefit. In law, undercover cops lie to catch criminals. Everywhere, we're faced with a question: is the outcome worth the compromise? It's easy to say, no, in theory. But reality is murky, and often, the price of pure morality is failure. 6. The personal dilemma. Imagine you're a leader. Your company is on the brink of collapse. You can save everyone's job, but only if you make one shady deal. What do? Or imagine you have to choose between telling your friend a painful truth or lying to protect them from emotional breakdown. What is the right path? These are not abstract dilemmas. They happen every day, and they show that sometimes morality and results pull in opposite directions. 7. Utilitarianism versus deontology. In philosophy, this debate is captured by two schools. Utilitarianism. An action is right if it produces the greatest good for the greatest number. Deontology. An action is right only if it follows moral rules. Regardless of outcome, Machiavelli leans toward the former. Although with a cynical twist. He doesn't care about happiness, just power. Still, his legacy lives in every utilitarian argument made today. 8. When does the end not justify the means? There must be limits. Otherwise, any horror could be excused. Genocide, torture, slavery, all could be justified if the ends were grand enough. That's why even realists impose constraints. The means must be proportional. The ends must be truly significant. The harm must be minimized. Transparency and accountability must follow. Without these, the phrase becomes a tool for dictators. 9. Modern reinterpretations. Modern thinkers have nuanced this idea. In leadership studies, it's seen as a tension between vision and ethics. In psychology, it explains moral disengagement. In AI ethics, it raises concerns. Should we allow unethical means if an AI outcome is beneficial? This shows that Machiavelli wasn't evil. He was simply willing to explore the shadows. 10. Conclusion. The balance. The ends justify the means is not a moral law. It's a strategic lens. Use it blindly, and you risk becoming a monster. Ignore it completely, and you may remain powerless. The challenge of life is to walk that narrow edge between principle and pragmatism. Or, as Machiavelli himself might say, it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Thank you for watching. Now tell me, do you think the end ever justifies the means? Let's talk.